So let's go ahead and get started with our restorative circle. I know Grace Elizabeth should be coming in, and I hope that she does any minute now. But let me just tell you what a restorative circle is. Basically, it's talking through an issue when maybe harm has been done. And in this case, the harm that was done is I think people had some hurt feelings and there was some miscommunication going on, and which is common for group work, especially when you guys are virtual students. It makes it even that much more difficult. So, but nevertheless, we still have to make sure that everybody is feeling okay and that they're okay with working in a group the next time that it comes up. So just kind of one thing that I did is Emma, sometimes she doesn't necessarily want to speak up or she might lose her train of thought during a conversation. So she had sent me her answers ahead of time. That's why you see some of the orange typing on here, just to make sure that Emma's voice is heard today as well. So first of all, let's just start with kind of an icebreaker question. What was your favorite part of Thanksgiving break? And for Emma, go ahead, Emma, if you'd like to tell us.
My birthday was on the 24th.
Oh, very cool. So yeah, right before Thanksgiving.
The whole week of my birthday off.
Oh, definitely. And what about you guys, Sierra and Sophia?
My favorite part of Thanksgiving break was because my birthday was the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh, how crazy is that? That's kind of ironic, but very cool. So you got to celebrate your birthdays. And Sierra, I would just ask that your sister be quiet during this time. And Brianna, you are, a sixth grader. You know how to be quiet. And go ahead and turn on your microphone and share with us your favorite part.
Okay. So I guess we didn't really do anything super special. Oh, wait a second. Okay. So I guess mostly we're here on a farm with sheep and goats and rabbits and a llama.
Lots of cool animals. Well, that's exciting. I'm glad that you got to do that. But okay, well, my favorite part of Thanksgiving break is I was very, very sick most of the month of November, and I finally got the right medication the week of Thanksgiving. I wasn't able to actually celebrate with my family and go down to Pueblo and visit my parents. I stayed home by myself, but I was still actually getting better, so that made it good. Anyway. Well, let's talk about our next question. So, without pointing fingers, and you don't want to do this like, but she did this and she did that, and you don't want to use derogatory statements. That's basically just mean talk. But just by stating the facts, what kind of issues did your group face when you guys were working together? And Emma, let's go ahead and start with you because yours is already up on the screen for us.
We really didn't communicate very well because I was working on school, like the connections lessons,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't really have the time to do that.
Okay.
So I tried to just do my part and
And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And I see that this was a thought. You guys, when we had that one virtual classroom where we were doing a check-in with everybody, to see where you were at and where you needed to go. That's probably would have been a good time for everybody in the group to speak up, because a lot of things get lost in emails. So, okay, so that time management piece, definitely. And then I see another thought that you had, Emma, that everybody was kind of working on their own presentation. And then you guys had to kind of do more work at the end by combining these different presentations. What other thoughts do you have, Sierra and Sophia? Looks like Sophia got kicked offline, so she'll probably be back in a second. So, Sierra, what thoughts do you have about the issues that this group faced?
I think Sophia's right. I think Sophia's right, except for the fact that we didn't really communicate. We didn't communicate at all.
Okay, so the communication was lacking. And that was actually Emma who was speaking earlier. But Sophia, now that you're back logged in, oh, it's okay, don't worry. Now that you're back logged in, Sophia, what issues do you think that this group faced when you guys were trying to work together? Looks like she's logging in again. Actually, and this is actually Charlie. Hey, Charlie, can you come back at 9:30, please? That would be fantastic. But basically, the theme that I'm hearing from you guys is that there was a communication breakdown. And that's very important. So let's talk about the meaning of effective collaboration, positive communication, and then next steps. So basically what we'll do next time you're working in a group together, okay? So for effective collaboration, Emma's thoughts on what that would mean is working together. Actually, Emma, you go ahead and tell us. What were your thoughts?
Working together and helping each other out. And working on the same thing instead of everyone doing her own.
Absolutely, because like I was just saying, if you're collaborating effectively, then people aren't doing double the work, which is kind of what this group ended up doing, was double the work. You had to get both presentations and combine them together. So Sierra and Sophia, what are your thoughts on what effective collaboration would look like?
Just talking to each other, because nobody would email me, or I got pretty much one email without having to email anyone else, and that was an accident.
Okay, so one email wasn't enough. And also, definitely, maybe talking to each other would have been much more helpful, especially during that virtual classroom that we held when we had the time to do that. There's no way that a teacher could know that the group is having problems when nobody spoke up that day. So everything seems like it's going fine and dandy. But then, these problems surfaced later. So, Sophia, do you have any thoughts on what effective collaboration means? Let's see. I'm going to check the chat. Seems like, oh, she can't hear anything. So she is having some technical difficulties. But don't worry, Sophia, I know you can't hear this, but I am recording it and I will send you the link. So let me just type her a message. Just log out and try logging back in. That's the easiest thing to try when you're having technical difficulties. All right, but let's move on to what positive communication is. there's a lot of different ways to communicate, okay? And I think that this group, the communication that you did have, had a very negative tone. It had a very pointing fingers type of tone. I don't want to say tattling, that's not quite the word I'm looking for, but it had kind of a blame everybody else type of tone. So positive communication, Emma, tell me what your thoughts on what positive communication is.
Communicating with people nicely and trying to help each other so that the project is done well and you don't get a bad grade on it.
Absolutely. And yeah, of course, grades are definitely important, but that the power of speaking to people nicely is really what we need to work on. And here's another thing that you might not realize. When people read an email, they are going to pick up on a tone that you might not have meant. But if it comes across in a snippy kind of way, that's where a lot of problems arise because you might not have meant it to sound so harsh. But you have to be careful in emails, and I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I had a situation last year even where I didn't mean anything by just straight up what I typed, but the person took offense to it. And so you have to be really careful with emails and the way things come across. So, Sierra, what's your thought on what positive communication looks like and sounds like?
Maybe just emails or just any type of communication at all because there was nothing. I tried and I did my own because that's why no one would respond to me.
Okay, so basically any type of communication in a nice way would be appreciated. So, for instance, what I think Sierra is trying to say is if you get a lot of emails from somebody and they're really trying to work on something and you don't have time to work on it right then and there, just letting them know that you will come back to it and that you are acknowledging that they're sending you an email is a good thing to do. And I do that all the time. I actually will read an email, reply to the person, and tell them, and I've done this with you guys too. Don't worry, as soon as I get home, I will do whatever it is you're asking me to do. Just so that the person knows that you haven't forgotten about them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, obviously you can't sometimes drop everything and, work on, for instance, work on the project right then and there. But just letting the person know that you got their email and that, yes, you will look at it at some point is definitely considerate. So just thinking about being considerate. So I think, so Emma doesn't quite know yet what to do for next time, like the next time you work together in a group. That's what that question was about. So, what ideas do you have now about the next time you guys work in a group? So, what ideas do you think will help you be a more effective group next time? What thoughts do you have, Sierra?
Maybe the next step is just to try and talk to me.
Try talking. Say that again.
Maybe it would just be to try talking to me.
Okay, so try talking more, using the positive communication. Oops. Oh my goodness. Okay, techniques that we just kind of discussed. I think that would be a good step. So here's another idea that I have for this group, is basically being considerate and putting yourself in other people's shoes. So being empathetic is a good word for that, but let's just, keep it really simple. So just being considerate and thinking about what others might be feeling, and especially when you type an email, thinking about how that email might be received, okay? Making sure that your tone is respectful, making sure that your tone isn't demanding or mean, because then you're more likely to get a response from somebody if you are kind to them, okay? And so let's see what Emma typed in the chat. Oh, she wasn't quite sure what that question meant. So Emma, do you have any thoughts now about maybe the next time you work in a group?
I think we should try to communicate more, but asking nicely how if we could do it, and when people can do it.
Okay. Oh, okay. So asking nicely when group members can work together. I know what you're trying to say. Like when they would be available to work. Okay. Absolutely. And then honestly, I think trying to make sure that you don't step on each other's toes as much, like kind of doing your own presentations and then having to go back and do double the work. So, just having a little bit of patience with people and consideration. So, all right. Well, how are you guys feeling? Are you feeling like maybe next time you have some good strategies for how to approach a group project? Emma says yes. Okay. What about you, Sierra and Sophia?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting, and then I'm going to restart again in 5 minutes because I don't want this recording to be part of the next virtual classroom recording. Okay. All right, friends. Well, good job today. This was our fun restorative circle. I hope everything will work out better next time, and I will see you guys again in 5 minutes.
Okay, be right back.
All right. Bye.